What do you do when you want to help swimmers reduce the drag they're creating, but the obvious problems have already been fixed? Hi everyone, Andrew here, helping you help your swimmers get faster. So today we're going to talk about how to use fins to reduce drag and specifically to help swimmers learn how to get rid of those small mistakes that may be creating a small amount of drag that is adding up to big losses in speed. So why does it matter? More drag equals less speed, and the impact of drag is exponential. So the faster swimmers swim, the more important it is. So the better they get, the more important it is to minimize the amount of drag they create. And creating propulsion is only part of the equation. Great propulsion can't overcome poor alignment. I'm sure you've seen some swimmers that were actually pretty good when you put them on resistance because they can create a lot of propulsion and the resistance aspect doesn't really matter. But once you take that resistance off, they're not nearly as fast and they're getting destroyed by swimmers for half their size and can't produce nearly the same amount of propulsion. If swimmers are creating a lot of drag, they're always going to be limited by that factor. And specific to our situation, it's not just the major mistakes that create drag. Obviously, swimming with a head position that's vertical is going to cause problems. A lot of small errors in alignment add up to big increases in drag, which lead to big losses in speed. Unfortunately, these aren't easy skills to learn. Drag can be really hard to feel. If swimmers are repeatedly making the same mistakes, it's not necessarily because they're lazy, it's because they simply can't feel them anymore. And small errors are really hard to feel. They're super subtle and they're not obvious. From a coaching perspective, these small errors are also really hard to see. A small shift in spinal position, a small drop of the shoulder, they can add up and they're really hard to see, especially when they're happening underwater. Drag is also dynamic. Swimmers are constantly shifting their position, and during that shift, swimmers can create drag if they don't manage the transition well. It's not so much about establishing great body position, it's about constantly managing body position throughout the entire stroke. And in order to make those adjustments effectively, swimmers need to be able to feel where they're creating drag, where they're making mistakes, and what they can do to improve. The final challenge with improving drag is that it's about removing different movements as opposed to adding different movements. And this is the opposite of how skills are typically approached because a lot of what we're trying to accomplish is learn how to do something specifically with the arms or the legs, whereas here, it's about learning how to not do something. And that change of perspective can be a little bit difficult for swimmers to manage. One of the solutions I like to implement is having swimmers swim fast with fins. So wearing fins allows swimmers to swim faster than they otherwise could. And we know that swimming faster magnifies the drag that swimmers create, so swimmers can begin to feel on their body where they create drag more easily than when they're swimming slower. So by swimming faster, they're going to feel more pressure on their shoulders, more pressure on their chest, more pressure on their head, more pressure on their hips. They're going to feel these opportunities more easily because they're traveling faster. And if they can feel it, they can become aware of it, they can start to learn where they're creating pressure, then they can start to do something about it, then they can fix it. And obviously, swimming fast is easier when you're using fins, so swimmers can get more practice doing this. And the more practice they get, the faster they're going to learn and the faster they're going to improve. So rather than just having swimmers swim with fins, the goal becomes to swim fast, but also to pay attention to how they're sliding through the water. And so if they're feeling speed bumps, they're feeling resistance somewhere on their body, the goal then is to pay attention, try to adjust body position, try to adjust alignment, and try to get themselves in a position where they don't feel as much resistance. The more they can do that, the more they can eliminate drag, and the faster they're going to swim. So how do you make this strategy even more effective? You can have swimmers swim with different stroke counts. You can have them swim with different stroke rates. You can use building efforts so they can start to feel the increase in drag, both as they go faster and as they change their skills. You can use descending efforts, so it's the same concept as building efforts, but instead of feeling it within a certain repetition, they're going to feel it across repetitions. You can have them change their breathing patterns because the breath is going to play a huge role in the alignment that they create. You can do this with drills. Have them swim the drills even faster so they can feel the pressure they create as they move through the water. And this can be even more effective because drills tend to be done at relatively slower speeds. So using fins and going fast is going to make a huge difference. These are all strategies to change what swimmers feel, make them more aware of what they're feeling. And the more aware they are of what they're doing and what they're feeling, the more likely it is they're going to be able to change. This is a really difficult skill to improve, and it's one that makes a big difference. And so we're going to have to use somewhat unorthodox strategies in order to make that happen. We can't simply just tell them to slightly adjust the position of the rib cage. They're going to have to figure out and feel these things for themselves. And because the reward is so great, it's worth making the effort and using some unorthodox strategies to try to make that happen. because if you can get a change, it's going to result in faster swimming. So here are 2 sets you can use to help swimmers learn to reduce drag with fins. So the first set, they're going to go 4 rounds of 425s freestyle with fast. They're going to go faster than 100 speeds. They're going to get moving pretty well. However, that shouldn't take a whole lot out of them because the fins are going to help them go fast. Then they're going to go 3 100s freestyle, descend 1 to 3 at the same stroke count. And when they're doing that, they're trying to slide through the water a little bit more effectively. And they're using that skill in order to create more speed without taking more strokes. So we'll go through that 4 times. They have 4 opportunities to get exposed to the fins and then try to make it happen during the regular freestyle. Next set's a little bit faster. So they're going to go 6 rounds, 325s butterfly with fins fast. And they're going to go 1 no air, 2 breathe every other stroke, 3 breathe every stroke. And that way they can feel the impact of the breath and how that's changing everything as well. The fins are going to allow them to swim even faster, and they're going to feel a whole lot more drag, and hopefully they can learn to adjust. Then they're going to go 50 butterfly, descend 1 to 3 to fast, 4 to 6 to faster. And when they're doing that, they're just trying to figure out how to apply what they're learning with the fins while they're swimming regular butterfly. So 2 simple sets. There's an almost infinite number of possibilities you can do here. It's the concept that's important. Allow them to swim faster than normal. Have them try to find a smoother and slipperier way to go through the water, and then try to apply that swimming regular strokes without the fins. Hope that was helpful, and as always, keep it simple.